Greetings, everyone. This is the Hipster Snack, and today with me are two of my closest Tomo bros, Mr. Clockwork Fiction.
Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines. You remember it, you now have to reinstall it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. It's a good game. If you make sure to get the unofficial mod for it.
So, thanks for that.
Talk to your parents, at which point then they'll go, oh man, now I got to reinstall it.
Exactly.
So, and also, Mr. Ditaku.
Oh man, now I got to reinstall it.
So,
actually, it's a good game. I haven't played it in a while.
that is true. I need to finish the run that I had started, actually. Now, that said, we're going to kick off with our Nerd News segment. 5 minutes around the clock. Go.
All right, Quake 2 Remastered is coming out, or is out. It was announced at QuakeCon. If you like Quake, it's one of the higher-end Quakes, especially for multiplayer. A lot of people have been talking about it. Go check it out. Street Fighter 6 has their TMNT collab, which was really, really cool and really, really surprising. Unfortunately, it seems that buying one of the skins is akin to around $15. So they still need to work on their pricing a bit. And then if you are into the role-playing scene for GTA, Rockstar just bought the company that owns the 5M mod. So it looks like if you are into that kind of thing, it looks like Rockstar is going to be keeping the RP scene alive themselves. But a lot of people are speculating on what exactly that's going to do when it comes to the actual mod itself, since a decent amount of it has other, copyright branded stuff in it. That some people put into their servers, so that might cause a bit of issues too, but we will see what happens in the future. And that is it for me.
All right, Master Yutaku.
This might be old hat, but apparently in, Disney's endless effort in order to, dig the grave for our beloved Star Wars, they decided that they were finally going to dredge up a character, two characters that are basically going to be the one for one of their upcoming series. In the Acolyte, it has been announced that they are going to have not only Darth Revan show up, but he's going to be played by none other than Keanu Reeves, which I think is brilliant, because if there's one character who has absolutely one person who has absolutely wooden acting, playing a tabula rasa, character you're supposed to project onto from a BioWare game, where basically you can be anything from the goodiest of goods to, the passive-aggressive Dark Lord, it would be, Keanu Reeves, who is most, well-known for just going, whoa. So,
I mean, that's true.
Also, Johnny Guilty Gear. He has one of the most amazing theme songs from the original series, the original Guilty Gear X series. And his English vocal track is so glam metal. I honestly wish that Stryper would do a cover of it. I mean, they probably wouldn't, but it would be something that I'm like, if I had $1 billion, I'd be like, hey, Stryper, I want you to cover this one niche game song.
That's fair.
I mean, they would do an absolutely fantastic cover of it, but, they probably would be like, no. So, which, I mean, once again, is fair.
Makes sense.
So, yes, that's pretty much what I got.
Okay. All I have are some teasers. First, there was a teaser released for a video game based on the Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin. I have complicated feelings on this. First off, IDW can still burn. I have no goodwill for IDW at this point. And honestly, I don't care that Kevin Eastman is one of the writers on the current comic. It still sucks.
But what about Jenica? She's the bestest character ever. She can use all the weapons, and she's a super cool ninja.
Like I said, IDW comics suck. So,
see, I don't understand why they keep doing that. Why they keep wanting to just have female turtles.
well, the thing is, the turtles have a very archetypical relationship. It's a 4-man band, and they keep trying to cram a fifth wheel into the equation, and it's never going to work because the brothers already have a dynamic, and that dynamic works.
I was about to say, I thought what you were going to say is, they already have a canon fifth ranger, and his name is Usagi Yojimbo.
His name is Miyamoto Usagi. Thank you. Actually,
I'm sorry.
I did that. I am the pedantic beaver from Sonic Boom. Actually,
I think I got that confused while I was talking about the turtles and that as well. So
it's a common mistake, but Usagi Yojimbo was the name of the series. The character is Miyamoto Usagi.
So Yojimbo is literally just another term for a masterless samurai, a mercenary samurai. So,
and the thing is, with the Last Ronin comic, the comic was a good story, and chiefly because Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman wrote it literally years ago, and IDW just decided to use it. Now, it's a good story up until the ending, and the ending sucks because it makes no sense whatsoever. And they're still doing that marketing gimmick. Who is the Last Ronin? We know who the Last Ronin is. They already revealed that a long time ago. It's Michelangelo. The turtle who was the first turtle, of course, was the last. Duh. And making a game based on a comic that had, technically, 3 fight scenes doesn't seem like it's going to make for a very interesting game. And even if they try to, put all the, we're going to have, the backstories, it's a foregone conclusion that they all die. And, I don't know. I don't think this is a good idea. And then THQ is making it, so it's a coin flip as to whether the game's going to be playable or not. TH quality as a slang term for a buggy jank game has been around for a long, long time.
Oh, that's not fair, man. They made Dawn of War.
Yeah.
I really like those games.
And they, like I said, it's a coin flip. And sometimes they get their act together and they make a good game, and sometimes they TH quality. The other teaser, which I'm actually much more excited about, is a South Park game, Snow Day. And it looks like it's in a pickup where Stick of Truth and Fractured But Whole left off, which is really exciting to me because I like those games a lot. No, I'll never play them on the channel because I don't want to get demonetized, but I like those games a lot. And that's all I got. So let's get into today's topic, which is we're going to talk about MMORPGs again. No, I'm kidding. No, we're not. That's a joke.
Although, not going to lie, we are actually still playing MMOs.
We are.
We could talk about that at length, but I think we should probably wait a little bit longer.
Yeah,
just because I'm in the middle of it.
But you're talking.
Oh,
go ahead. Sorry.
I'm in the middle of an arc right now where I'm basically going through Space Detroit, effectively in the middle of what I am realizing is basically a entire Saints Row story, minus probably all the crude humor. But I mean, it's that sort of thing. So, it's just one of those things where I feel like I need to get to the end of this particular story arc before I can really explain my feelings on the entire thing.
That's fair. That's fair.
I was gonna say I never stopped playing MMO, so
it's a genre I do wish I liked more than I did, but we kind of already articulated that.
Yeah.
We thought.
As I said before during the thing, just to say, you got to find the one that you like more. Some people would rather play EVE Online. Some people would rather play Final Fantasy 14. Some people might, for whatever reason, might like RuneScape. I personally like RuneScape. That's why I never continued to play it. But people do, and that's good on them.
That's fair. That's fair. Today we're gonna take it a little easy. We're gonna talk about something that the Tomodachi Bros are deeply passionate about. Something that we all hold near and dear to our hearts, and waifus. We're talking waifus. Okay.
Basically, okay. I was going to say, basically, this boiled down to Clockwork wanted to talk about MMOs, and I just flippantly said, fine, but next week we're going to talk about waifus. At which point the professor is like, okay.
Yeah.
And then, so that this is the other shoe dropping on me saying, basically what I'm saying is you shouldn't say something that you really don't mean.
Because you might have a literal-minded muppet of a friend who's just like, yeah, okay.
And I'm like, oh man, I can't, stop because this is the exact same thing I do to him all the time. So I have to go along with it.
And the thing is, what I actually think is really interesting is not only is this kind of a broad topic, even especially within the realms of nerd culture, but it actually has a lot of sociological implications. There are some aspects that are just considered universally attractive or universally unattractive, but at the same time, you always have these weird niche fringes, and I think there's just a lot of really interesting ground to cover from a character design standpoint. That's how I'm rationalizing this in a way.
Yeah, okay.
so like some franchises are sort of the franchises. Oh well, there's coincidentally some waifus involved, but they're not like the main focus. I don't know. I'd say some of the later Rune Factory games had that kind of vibe, where it's like, yeah, you have that option. That's available to you. You're not obligated to, and nothing in the game forces you to, but it's there if you want it. Then there are the franchises.
I was about to say, unlike Rune Factory 2, where it's like you cannot progress in the story until, yes.
Yeah, you literally have to waifu, and you're going to spend, like, at minimum, an in-game year doing it. And as you slowly go mad, because nothing actually happens during that time.
The funny thing is then, you get married, and then it's like, well, guess I die. Bye, son.
Well, he doesn't die, but he does basically die. Mechanically, he dies. It becomes completely useless to his own story, as he had been the entire time before. Then you have the franchises that are basically built on waifus. Most mobile games are guilty of this. Fate is literally this. What is it? That one shooter game you showed me, Tutaku, Nikkei, however you say that, with like the girls that just point their butts at the screen and they shoot at robots and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's waifus. It's waifus, and it's popular. And there's a reason it's popular, because the base default for people is, I like looking at pretty girls. I mean, at least the default for the nerd culture, given that the predominantly, overwhelmingly male demographic. If we're going to be,
I'd like to point out the number one quote of an MMO player. If we're talking about waifu, is why do you make a female character? Is if I'm going to be playing this character for 100 hours, I would like to look at what I'm looking at the entire time.
Yeah.
I butchered that.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the preface is still there.
No, yeah, it's exactly right. And here's the thing: this is true whether you're single or not, because, and this is just kind of a trend that I've noticed, is single guys will just make a waifu they think is pretty. Now, that's pretty much what Tutaku and I do. Now, guys who are like taken and in long-term committed relationships, the characters they make basically are their girlfriend or spouse, or whatever the nature of the relationship is. Like, they basically will end up looking just like them, even if they're not doing it consciously. Or at least that's just the trend that I've seen.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen some things about with Mr. Cog, and to be fair, this is Cog.
We haven't really seen him get into like the character creation scene since before those two were married. So I don't know if that's a fair thing to hold over his head. Though it is a funny thing to hold over his head. It's comical, so it stays.
Yes.
That said, I don't know, maybe this is a good time for us to indict ourselves. Clockwork, what kind of waifus do you find yourself drawn to on the whole? And feel free to give some examples along the way.
I have two extremes.
Sure.
Generally it's the strong are pretty much tomboys. I like tomboys.
Okay.
Is I like more of. I'm trying to. I hate how you put me on the spot for characters. So I'm like, God dang it!
Your name comes first alphabetically. Deal with it.
No, it's not. It's not that. It's as I'm trying to think of one that I could think that is a good example, but I can't think of one right off the top of my head. And I also like the huge. I also like the huge nerds. The generally more sciencey characters are the ones that are very technically savvy.
Right.
Momo from Breath of Fire 3 would be the example for that one.
Sure.
Oh my gosh. I can't think of a tomboy one off the top of my head, unfortunately, because that one is fine. Generally I don't generally go off of that one as much, because usually when I'm playing games, I'm usually playing the nerdy character as it is.
And that's fair. It's okay for you to have preferences. Let's be clear on that. So, Master Ditaku, your name alphabetically comes next.
Oh, very convenient that. Well, I really like. I am quite fond of the. How do I put this? Because here's the thing: I'm going to say this, and people are going to go, press X to doubt. I am not a furry, but.
I'm gonna make the title card just Itaku holding a sign that says "I'm not a furry, but ...
Oh, not the one investigator from L.A. Noire with the glowing red eyes.
Doubt, yeah. Maybe that's what I'll do for the title card.
You left-wing ling. You slimy little program. You want me to sit here and believe that? Speaking of butchering something. All right, everyone, we need to, bully the professor until he does an L.A. Noire's next plays.
Oh, man.
But I like the Kemo Mimi, I suppose is the best way of putting it. It's the animal ears, beast girl type of thing.
Now, I'm going to put a handy chart on the screen where the not furry, dangerously furry meme template, so that you guys at home can get a general idea. Ditaku is like at the 10% range. Unless you go past that, in which case you are free to correct me on that.
No, that's about right. And I mean, I don't know. I really think they look pretty. Often they have, they have floofy tail. They have, the exotic ears. Yeah. I think it's.
I looked at Makoto from Blaze Blue.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just making
Chao Kaka, that, and I mean,
see, Chao Kaka is interesting because we don't know what's under the hood.
We know exactly what's under the hood. She's a cat girl, dude. She is a cat girl. We already know.
She's a black mage.
Yeah, she's a black mage cat girl. Okay,
I'm making a meme because it was there was a joke that when someone revealed what was under the hood, it was actually a chain chomp and it bit someone's face off. Well,
okay.
I'm sorry.
So, yeah, like Reki from 12 Beast, I guess, Cow. If we want to go like old school, I guess, I'll have to just say Aisha Clay and Glenn was one of my very first waifus.
That's fair.
And, also I enjoy athletic women, very, very fit. Not really the into tomboys, honestly. I think that is pure simp cancer, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Okay, Ditaku, don't hold back, man. Just tell us how you actually feel and don't be ambiguous about it.
Well, Okay. All right. Do you really want me to do this? Because I will.
No, I'm giving you a ration. No, like
Okay,
that's the
so
thing that's kind of
anyways, what I-
important is there really is no accounting for taste.
Oh, you said that, in my Chessie just like had a massive sneeze, and now she's looking at me like I did something to her.
Obviously, this is your fault.
So yes. Oh no! Looks like it's only one other person here.
Yep, because Sneck alphabetically
Professor.
comes last. I don't know if you guys at home have been following the channel for any length of time, you probably already know the answer to this. I like big girls, like all axes big. Preferably able to
Basically-
bench press my car, kind of big.
Basically, what he's saying is if his waifu was a buffet, he would basically go, "Yes, I'd like all of that, please."
Yes, everything. What? All of it. Literally everything. Yes.
Sir, that's don't tell me what I want.
Challenge accepted, good sir. And yeah, I'm kind of in a similar camp with Yutaku in respects to you got the Beast Girl thing and monsters, and we talked about this before. I simp for monster girls. What can I say?
Basically, what he's saying is we need Chemo Fujin to be translated because we need to know what happens to Chemo.
That series is so good. I cannot articulate just so amazing. Mwah, chef's kiss. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Change nothing, just translate it. One of these days,
This man's is getting killed by hamsters.
One of these days, when a ranger isn't currently on fire or being attacked by jelly fantulas, we need to pay him to translate that.
Yeah, we do.
So, like that's an important thing to really take to heart in this equation. Is there's waifus for everyone, and everyone's going to have their own tastes in the subject matter, and it's also going to vary a bit depending on like what your options are. Again, Rune Factory, good example of this, is like I think it's a little bit of a personality test where it's like, hey, like who did you marry in Rune Factory 2? And like I'm just going to be dead level honest. The girl there's always like in any Japanese media that has waifus, there's always the girl next door. There's always the saber face. There's always the mist. And they're always, without fail, the worst waifu. Because they literally just have like no personality. They don't like anything. They don't dislike anything. They don't have any particular convictions. They're there and they're pretty and they like you for some inexplicable reason, even though you're a schlubby nerd. And by you,
and
I
they're
mean
often,
me.
and often they're like, "Oh, we knew each other when we were babies, and you promised that you'd marry me."
I was like 4 when I said that. That's a little creepy to bring up now. Too bad.
And now Stack is at a high school filled with other snaps. Can he survive?
I've been through high school. I graduated high school. No, I don't want to go back.
This is second high school.
No. Somehow this is so much worse. Like, I mean,
well,
it's one of those things that you do have to kind of accept as part and parcel of the genre, to be sure. But oh man, if I'm sorry, if you tell me, if I go, hey, who's your fate waifu? And your response is any saber face, I immediately disregard every opinion you've ever had in your life as completely inconsequential. Because holy crap, that's boring. I'm sorry, Noodle. I know I just jabbed you in the ribs there, man, but it's boring. It's super boring.
Wow, and you said that I had a spicy burrito take. Wow, you just took my baby brother and you're like, your waifu is awful.
Now you're going in the same trash can with her, and then I will put the trash can lid on and a brick so you don't escape.
Ooh.
then you can be trash together and have little trash babies that all have exactly the same face.
I know, Bear. Why is Snack saying such mean things?
Like, it's always, without fail, the worst waifu. I'm just saying. Like, that what's the word for it? I'm always something Nadeshiko.
Yamato Nadeshiko.
Yes. It's always the worst waifu, without fail. That's
which is ironic because your favorite girl in Diamond Will Not Crash is a Yamato Nadeshiko. It's just, you know, she went
spoof
absolutely
of the Yamato Nadeshiko. That's why she went completely ape and also has one of the most terrifyingly powerful stands, which weirdly enough coincides with a non-stand power from Phantom Blood. Possible relationship? I mean, just throwing that theory out there. But, like, yeah, she's crazy powerful, and just for giggles, we tried to see what would happen in All-Star Battle if you paired her with Koichi. She goes even crazier when they're on the same side. And if you actually manage to knock Koichi out, she goes into a super state that she never leaves, and will just destroy you, by the way.
Yes, it's called, it's like Love is a Battlefield, Heroine's Heart, or something like that.
Something like that.
And yeah, basically, she just effectively goes Super Saiyan. And will just, she basically just gains meter and super armor.
Yeah, and then she destroys you because she's already super OP to begin with. That is a good waifu. If your waifu is the sort who would literally hunt down and murder the men responsible for your assassination, that is a good waifu.
The problem with Yukako is that she's just really slow, which is weird because, like, in all of her fights in the manga,
she's really
her
fast.
Entire thing is the fact,
and like she can just kind of be everywhere at once because her hair just like apparently she can feel stuff through her hair.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just saying, A+ waifu.
Yeah, Yukiko is a good waifu, even though it's funny. You're like, you know, you don't ordinarily go for the yanderes, but I guess, you know.
In this case, I wouldn't even say she's really yandere. I think she was more just super obsessive. Like, she had no intention of killing Koichi up until the last minute in that battle. And that's because he had already, like, injured her repeatedly and had used his stand to literally drill into her skull that he hated her. And she basically just took that as a personal challenge. The I can fix him mentality came out. And then when the whole boing boing cliff thing happened, and she's like, I think I love him even more now, completely diffused her like being mean and vicious until someone tries to hurt Koichi, in which case she becomes even more so.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Diamond is Unbreakable. Is that obvious?
No, Professor.
No, absolutely not.
Fair. That's fair. I'll own that. But here's
I out of all the JoJo's, just sidebar for just a second. I still like I from all the four that I've watched, I've thought were all amazing, but I still, for some reason, I still find Phantom Blood and Steel Ball Run a little higher on the totem pole than the others. A little higher.
You've read Steel Ball Run?
Or not Steel Ball Run. What's the second one?
Battle Tendency.
Battle Tendency. Why did I think Steel Ball Run?
Steel Ball Run's part 7, my dude.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
Battle Tendency.
Yes, when we were talking about, you know, quick guys, we have to, you know, resurrect Jesus so that to stop the president from meeting capital G God, that is Steel Ball Run.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's actually a pretty accurate summation of that series.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving out Funny Valentine.
Yeehaw, we're cowboys now. Now we got to go and stop the president.
The president who drops 300 pounds between a single chapter in the manga, yes.
You know, and the funny thing is that Araki basically boiled down to, I didn't want to draw him like that anymore.
That's funny. But back on track. The thing is, like, the reason these games do the waifu thing is not only because it's a universal concept between nerdy men, is, you know, we desire that connection. There's a certain safety net, and when you have that undo option. And there is a danger of people getting hooked on that. And I'm sure there's gonna be lots and lots of comments being like, "Oh no, you're promoting unhealthy relationship." No, guys, it's all in good fun. And if your waifu becomes more than haha, this girl's super cute, that will ruin your lifeu. I'm just saying. But honestly, that's why you have those options available, because the tastes are going to vary a great deal. Not everyone is a connoisseur, such as myself, and would waifu Mama Rabbit from a Z Technician's Man from the Window. It takes a gentleman to properly romance a lady like that. And, taste. Opinions, as Dutaku said, you got to wipe your opinions, because otherwise they get gross. And he's not wrong. That's an important lesson to take to heart.
No, yes.
I just made a face, and I realized you couldn't see the face that I was making. I mean, probably was for the best.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
They're like, yes, I'm a connoisseur. I'm like, okay.
Well, now it's my turn.
That's for sure.
It's my turn to be under the X for doubt meme. X to doubt the stupid snack. Yes.
I mean, whether it's connoisseur or just scooping up whatever's in front of you, depending on what it is. I mean,
whoa. Hey. I have standards. Admittedly, they're very broad and don't require that much discernment, but I do have them. I don't think I've played a game.
That is like, I think we finally achieved a triple level innuendo there with the, I have standards. They're broad.
Yes.
It's just like,
I didn't mean for that to be a joke, but it is now.
It is. It is. It's a pretty funny one, too. You guys don't. I have 2 dogs now, both standing on my lap because I have a sourdough or a buttermilk cookie, and they both want this cookie.
Well,
you guys don't need a cookie.
I mean, the simple version is I don't think I've played a game on the channel where I've really gotten to demonstrate strong preferences for like, oh, there's a group of waifus, pick one. And I am not going to do a video let's play of a Rune Factory title. Nuts to that. There was one I was going to do. It might be Rune Factory 3 because that is like the shortest story-wise. But like, all in all, I mean, it's more like, everyone has their preferences, and mine skew in my own personal direction. But again, like I was saying earlier,
not even. I was going to say, not even Tides of Destiny.
Maybe Tides of Destiny. I could do the grinding off screen. That one has some excellent choices too, and the takeaway here is that a lot of the time these characters are drawn this way for a reason, and this actually brings me to something I didn't even mean to harp on, but it popped into my head while I was attempting to articulate this sentence. Waifus are drawn the way they are for a reason, because that is the beauty standards of the artist drawing them, and likely the culture that artist grew up in. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with liking it. And if you spend all your days on social media, you might have run into people who like to air quote, air quote, air quote, air quote, air quote, fix, end quote, end quote, end quote, end quote, end quote, other people's art. And generally, these Tumblr-arenas, because they're always from Tumblr, because they always are, basically just make the character as ugly as possible, and also their art is terrible, so like the quality of the art severely like dips when they do this. And they're like, oh, they're better now, because now they're more realistic. Well, I have a newsflash for you. All those Disney princesses you like to, quote, air quote, fix, end quote, were based on real people. They literally look like their voice actresses. So, sucks to suck. They're already realistic because they were already real.
Yeah, actually, that was a thing with the original Maleficent and the Sleeping Beauty.
Yep.
Is that basically her voice actress was like, oh, we're just going to make her look like a voice actress. And like, oh, guys, we have a problem.
She's pretty.
The main villain is too hot.
What do? Make her green.
Does have to be threatening.
Make her green.
Oh,
okay. That fixes everything, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like this, I'm not saying beauty standards are unfair. They're unfair to everybody. Like, have you guys watched a Marvel movie? Have you seen the various actors named Chris with their shirts off? Because that's not how healthy men look. Spoiler alert. Like, they actually passed out on set multiple times because they were dehydrated. You get that muscle definition by not having water in your body. That is really, really, really terrible for you and can kill you.
See, the problem is, Professor, is if you actually looked at like the real, actual strong men, people, the average like Zoomerella would be like, oh my God, they're like so ugly. They're so fat. And it's like, no, actually, these like 300, 400 pound guys are like, they
almost solid muscle mass.
Yeah, they have fat on them, but it's basically just a little bit that covers up the fact that, yeah, they're basically built like a semi-tractor trailer.
Yeah. And these dudes, like the strongest man in the world, looks like a beer-bellied Viking, but this dude can literally lift a small car. It's amazing. I've seen videos of him. He's incredible. I'm just like, dude, that dude is like crazy strong. That is like comic book character strong.
Yeah, like those paper toss guys that, will just like launch a tree like dozens of feet or, dozens of meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like, just beer belly, grandpas and uncles.
Yeah. But like,
they don't look like they'd be able to just.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, beauty standards are unfair. That's life. Life is unfair. So, like, instead of wallowing in it, how about you design what you think is beautiful for your original creations? This is something I'd like to harp on a lot because I think this is, like, really, really important for young up-and-coming talent and even experienced talent who may have hit a dry spell or a rough patch or writer's block. Make what you think is beautiful. Put your heart into it. Don't copy or make derivative iterations of something someone else already did. Like, if you want to make your waifu or your husbandos, because I don't know, I think broadly everything we said can be applied to husbandos too, in their own way. I got no problem giving my bros compliments, okay? But like, yeah, make things that you think are beautiful. Make characters that you think are cool. Make characters that you think are relatable. And yeah, like, you should be able to take a look at a character and get a sense for what they're all about. There's nothing wrong with a character being an everyman, but at the same time, like, look at, what's a good example? Okay, I have a great one. In Gurren Lagann, you can look at Kamina and Shimon, and you know what they're about based on their character designs. They share some themes. They share a lot of the same color palettes. But you can tell, especially when they're like before the time skip, Shimon is like, he's smaller, his shoulders are kind of slumped, he looks a little more unsure of himself. That tells you a lot about the character in the design. That is a good design. Kamina is the same way. He has broad shoulders. He has his head kind of lifted upwards in most of his promo art. You can tell this. He's tough. He's jacked. He's lean muscle. And he has this big cocky grin on his face. You should be able to look at the character and know what they're about just like that. And it's the exact same logic that's applied to waifus and husbandos or any character, really.
I got to say, that's like one of the things that I think Matt Groening did really well was with his character design. I absolutely loathe The Simpsons for like the stranglehold it has on adult animation. But, you know, I will concede that when he's like, yeah, you basically have to make a character such that if someone looks at them and they know nothing about them, that they'll know what they're about.
Yeah.
Effectively. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. That is like having that unique silhouette tells you a lot about the character. You know that Fry is this kind of your average run-of-the-mill dude. He's just wearing a t-shirt with a jacket and jeans. He's a schlub going to work and doing his job. And, you know, Professor Farnsworth, he's this wrinkly old prune of a man, but he's wearing a lab coat. He has thick glasses. You can tell he's supposed to be the very intelligent character kind of archetype. That is good character design because it tells you a small story with one glance. And that's how a character ought to be designed. You guys thought that we were just going to be lusting over girls. Instead, this is actually 101 on character design and how to tell a compelling story. I fooled you all.
God, multifaceted. Oh.
Yeah, but that's exactly it. Every character should be multifaceted. You should be able to get a sense of how the character is. You already do this in real life anyway. You like everyone does it, okay? You make judgments about the people that you see based on how they're dressed, how they present themselves. If some guy goes into a job interview not wearing a shirt, do you think he's going to get the job? No.
I don't know. It depends on whether or not they're an underwear model or not. I mean,
touche, good sir.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. You're not wearing any pants.
Yes, they told me to dress for the job I wanted.
Carry on, then, Mr. President.
Understood. Have a good day, sir. There's an idea. How about Mike Hagar? Can you take one look at this man and know exactly what he's all about? Pretty much, yes. Now,
he looks like he is a defenseless damsel who gets saved by Team Laser Explosion, obviously.
Obviously. Weeble stuff is great. Look it up. So, like, you can look up Mike Hagar, and he's like wearing this like trousers that have one suspender shoulder, and he's this huge mountain of a man, and you know he clearly has some age on his face. He's clearly a bit older, but he's also like 6'8". Just smashes guys from like 3 feet, like 3 feet longer than you think his arms can actually go because he's just that big. But then it's like, he's also the mayor. He's a talented politician, and the people love him because he's actually this really like nice guy who doesn't want to hurt people but will if the situation calls for it. That is what we call ironic juxtaposition, class, and it can make for a really interesting, fun character. In fact, you might actually have seen this in certain character designs where certain inversions of the stereotype in themselves become stereotypes. How many times have you seen like a big muscular dude who's actually like a hippie, like really one with nature and like doesn't like fighting, and he actually would rather be like painting or writing poetry? You see it all the time because it's the inversion of the original stereotype becoming one itself. I'm not saying you should avoid or go toward these kinds of conventions. I'm just saying you should have attention drawn to these conventions.
I'll say every single time I see a small little scrawny little guy in Battle Shonen now, I'm like, that guy's going to be super strong.
Yeah.
Just, the fact that he's here and he has a unique, character design, and he's going to either turn out to be some kind of super villain, or it's going to be like, I'm secretly the master you've been looking for this whole time.
Yeah.
But he's going to be super strong, and you can thank that to Dragon Ball.
Yep. Again, the unexpected becomes the expected when everyone is like, aha, I will do something they won't expect. And then you come to expect it. That's another element of character design that you should be able to you should be able to look at the character, understand that character, and any room for ambiguity can be used for storytelling or updates to the character's design. In fact, I have a good example of this. I've been playing Fire Emblem Three Houses. Don't recommend it. I'm doing it because I'm too bloody-minded to put the game down now that I've started, because I'm going to finish this stupid story no matter how contrived it gets. But I hit a time skip. Now, the thing is, it's a 5-year time skip where your character's out of commission. When you come back, you see the characters that you had before, but they've all aged up. They're now like in their early 20s, and they do different things that kind of tell stories about who these characters are. Like one guy, like my main guy is Dimitri, and he's just kind of like the pretty boy prince when you first meet him. After the time skip, he has like kind of long, scraggly hair. He hasn't been taking care of himself. He has the obligatory eye patch because everyone in the future loses an eye. Thank you, Bravo Man, for making a really great parody of that concept. R.I.P. Bravo Man comic. You were gone too soon. And like one of the girls in my army was always like, oh, well, she's really devout. She wants to like dedicate herself to work at the church. When you see her, she basically has like this universe's version of the nun's habit on. And I'm like, oh, okay, like that tells a story because like, you see her before and she's just wearing kind of like plain clothes. And then you see her and she's like in religious garb. So you can tell, oh, she followed her dream. She like pursued her work with the church. That tells you something about the character before and after at just one glance. And before you, if you ask, no, she wasn't my waifu. That was Manuela. Look it up. Oh, yeah. This is an interesting counterpoint. There are things that go too far. There are things that go entirely too far, relying on waifus as a selling point. And Fire Emblem is an excellent example of this. Let's talk about Fire Emblem Fates. Mechanically, the games did some things I think that were fairly smart. Making weapons that otherwise weren't part of the weapon triangle part of it by ascribing colors rather than just, oh, sword, axe, spear. It's like, oh, well, it's just red, blue, green. And everything falls into it, which I think makes archers a little more interesting, a little more nuanced. Holy crap, the story is terrible.
I'm surprised. I thought you were going to talk about Awakening.
Well, here's the thing. Awakening strikes a really good balance between making your character important and not making them omni-important. This is actually a contentious spot that I would argue Robin is an excellent character because he is humbled in the story. Robin could have easily been a Mary Sue, this overblown character, but no, they balance it because he is not the Lord character. You're supposed to be the Lord character's assistant. You are not the Lord. You do not have anything super special. You have swords and magic, which is weird in Fire Emblem, but not unheard of. So, like, he's odd, sure, but he's not so out of place as to be completely asynchronous. Corrin, meanwhile, is just, oh, I'm a dragon, because she's like, of course I'm a dragon. So my weapons are swords and dragon, which is something that in every other Fire Emblem game you don't get till the story is like 75 to 80% over. It's like, I'm super special, and I have like all these superpowers that just no one else has, and I'm also the Lord character, and I'm just like super great, and everyone just super loves me. No, screw Corrin. Corrin, as a character, sucks, because he's exalted immediately and eternally. Robin is humbled and forced into a more subservient station where his elevation in the ranks is because he makes friends with people and he's reasonably intelligent and he can help people by being the strategist and tactician. Robin getting married to one of the women in the army makes perfect sense in context. It works because Robin is there for a legitimate reason, doing a legitimate purpose without becoming the Rey, the Star Wars Rey character that Corrin ultimately ends up being. Corrin is already perfect. He has nowhere to improve upon, or they have nowhere to improve upon, I should say, because it can be either. Robin, meanwhile, doesn't have that issue. Awakening strikes a fine line to walk. Fates immediately screws it all up because they were like, oh, people really liked the complex relationship systems in Awakening. I mean, complex by Fire Emblem standards. They're not actually complex. But Fates is just like, oh, everyone loves Corrin. Everything is about Corrin. And every single relationship is just because Corrin is just like so gosh darn great and amazing. And both men and women are just throwing themselves at his or her feet. bare feet because the people who are into feet are weird. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. You're all weird. Like, that's the fine line, and Fates does a bad job with it. So when you're pursuing the romances in Fates, it feels very artificial and very tacked on, especially because Fate seems to have a poor understanding of relationship dynamics. The short version being that Nor's storyline is the only one that makes any sense. Revelations is a very obviously tacked on DLC content, and Hoshido is an afterthought at best because Hoshido sucks, and everyone in Hoshido sucks. I mean, the royals, like some of the characters in the Hoshidan army are good, but the nobles, they suck. They just suck. Am I off base here? What? I've been on my soapbox here for a minute. So what do you guys think?
No, I think what you're saying is, I mean, it really depends. See, it's hard because I haven't really played a lot of the Fire Emblem games besides Awakening,
Right?
So I don't know the nuances of what they try to do. I know they've gotten a bit more explicit with their waifu-ness with certain characters and everything in the newer games.
Fates
I think
does
at least one of them.
Three Houses, not as much, and I haven't played Engage, so I can't really testify exactly.
At least that's how I was told. I like I said, I liked Awakening because like I like the fact that everybody kind of gets their own, like, everyone kind of gets their spoilers for a game that's been around for forever now at this point.
3DS isn't being supported anymore. It's fine.
Yeah.
About 10 years.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice that everybody kind of gets their own character, like their own kid character, and it's mostly everybody kind of gets their own kid character.
Yeah.
Of course, two of them are always going to be your kid and
Lucina.
Yes. So it's always going to be, but I believe their stats are a bit depending on who they marry.
They are.
So there's a lot of nuances to it. I think in the newer games, if I remember correctly, you don't have you don't have time traveling kids.
Yeah,
so,
that doesn't happen. That only happens in Awakening and Fates. That does not happen in Three Houses or Engage, as I understand it.
The nice thing I remember about it too, though, and I think it happens in most Fire Emblem games. I know there's some sort of working together bonus you get for like having your characters side by side. Is that because of how you can create your tactician in Awakening, you can specialize in one and then have your potential spouse, I was thinking if you decide to go with that character or not, if you already know what you're doing in the game, be the other character that supplements your weaknesses, and then you get and then you can get a character that is either really balanced or really powerful in one.
Yeah.
And his weaknesses are not as bad, are not going to be as bad as what they could be, depending on how you built it.
Right.
That as well. So there's a lot of ways you can, curate your experience in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Other games, at least if we're going to go kind of about another game, especially the one I've been playing recently, I haven't played a lot of it, which I think is one that I think is kind of nice because it seems like it gives you a lot of choices, even though I haven't gone far as Baldur's Gate 3, because I've seen some of the clips on X and stuff like that about like certain characters you get to you can romance or not romance and different things that's been going on. That's what's going on. But I do like that it seems, at least for how the story goes, is that if you're trying to get with a character, you got to kind of work on their, because every character seems to have an agenda or what they're trying to do.
Right.
You have to work with their agenda for that to work out. And if it doesn't align with your agenda or what you're wanting to do with the character, it's probably not going to work out very well in the end either way.
I mean, that's realistic, at least. You should have similar goals. If your waifu's goals are the opposite of yours, you're off to a bad start, I'd say.
Although I don't know about one character, but it seemed like one character was I like to hit things. I was just like, okay, well, I like to blow things up with fireballs. We would get along just fine.
Seems right.
So yeah, the one thing I will recommend, I don't like particularly, is just a lot of games that use waifus as cash grabs.
Yeah,
in a sense. I didn't want to bring it up because I know that some people are, because depending on the gacha games that you like and dislike, I don't really get into those because I feel like it's just like I like look at all the pretty anime girls you can get, and I'm like, yeah, and then I'm gonna have to throw what $200-300 and maybe hopefully get a chance to roll one, and then if I want to get the the bikini edition, I'll throw in another $200-300 for that, and it's just like at one point, where does it end? So. But
Yeah.
there's my spiel on the game side and everything. But I don't like it being used for I like it when it's used in tandem with mechanics or things that benefit you in certain way and it makes sense. I don't like it for weird cash grab scenarios and just using it as a lure instead of an actual means.
Yeah, that seems fair to me.
How about you, Taku? Anything to add to the gaming side of this?
Well, I was gonna say that I agreed with the professor there until you went off on a tirade about the eugenics system in Awakening and about how much you hate gacha games. So I just one of those things of I really don't have anything to add to the fact that I liked Awakening. I mean, honestly, I think that Fire Emblem as a series really is kind of like Dragon Quest in that it's extremely dogmatic and, to its credit, has stuck to what has done well. But the problem is a lot of those things are artifacts from a era of gaming that is not really around anymore. So it kind of sticks out. And, I mean, it's funny because like when Disgaea is more, user friendly and more, how do I put this? Not brutally hard, then you're doing something wrong, honestly. And I don't know. It's just, it's weird to me that it got as popular as it did. But it's also Nintendo. So, it attracts, special people, I always say. Wow, I'm being really, really spicy today.
Well, I think, you and I both.
I mean, it wouldn't be a Tomodachi Bros podcast without a little spiciness to it, a little flavor, a little intrigue, or or got a little chance of getting yelled at on the internet from time to time.
I'm just kind of surprised. Where was this vim and vinegar when we were actually discussing gacha games before their work? Jeez.
Well, I didn't. I mean, it's one of those things where I could have sworn I talked about how much I didn't like gacha games during it, or at least I didn't play them for my reasons. So I don't hate them per se, but I mean, I think it's one of those, as I talk about MMOs, you got to find your niche in them, and most of them is just here's pretty ladies, just pay us money for pretty ladies. I'm like, I could do this without giving you money, so thank you, but no, I'll go take my money elsewhere.
As Master Noodle observed, they don't want you to know this, but PNGs of waifus are free, and you can look them up on the internet on fan wikis.
Yep.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
But
then you don't. But then you don't get. You don't get Thunder Bear Mama saying "R" to you when you open up the game.
That's when you go to YouTube, dear straw man. You go to YouTube, and someone who makes a 30 to 45 minute breakdown of the character's stats or the numbers on the screen, and they'll show you all the interactions along the same time, and you can just do that. I kind of feel like I'm throwing stones in a glass house over here because I have quite the roster of Fate Go waifus. So it's like, I don't have much of a much firm ground to stand on over here, do I?
No, you don't. Of course, here I am having, bought all the ninjas in Action Time and in just today. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the cold hard truth is, it may be a very simple impulse, but it's one of the impulses that is there to keep our species alive. And more than that, like, you should, like, you should try to bond with like real people, and waifu should very much be secondary. That's my PSA for this episode. But the cold hard truth is, people like waifus, people like husbandos, because they're interesting characters. It can be very engaging, and sometimes the stories are really good, and sometimes you just really, really, really want to get Minamoto no Raiko in a swimsuit because it's Minamoto no Raiko in a swimsuit. These things happen, and it's okay.
Speaking of sucking the suck, how's it feel?
I got her, okay? I got her. It took me a few tries for the rerun banner, but I do have her, yes. Thank you kindly.
I remember that was the one time it kind of sort of came around.
Yeah, that is true facts. I mean, I had something similar happen, actually, because I talked about this in another video, but I'll bring it up again. My Fate Go waifu is Passion Lip. And here's the thing. Passion Lip appeared on a banner as the 4-star hero alongside her sort of sister, Meltirus. And Meltirus was the 5-star. And I was like, I don't really want the 5-star. I definitely want the 4-star character because she has huge hitting power. And, the alter ego is a really interesting class. So I start rolling. I get Meltirus like almost immediately. And I had to fight to get Passion Lip. And I did. I did eventually get her. Because I swear statistics are just black magic. Not a fan. The desire sensor is a real phenomenon, and anyone who's played games where any element of random drops are an element knows. Just saying.
Yeah, hunting games in a nutshell, basically.
Yep. I don't think there's anything wrong with liking waifus and husbandos. Okay, it's fine. And no, you shouldn't let that sort of thing get out of hand, but that's true for everything. Moderation in all things, including moderation. So it's like, the point being, enjoy, don't go nuts, and don't use moderation as an excuse to just never try. Okay. I'm working my Mr. Mackey impression, so I'll keep trying. So I open the floor to you guys because I've been talking a lot this episode. Do you have any the final words or objections, emotional outbursts, or any other such things you'd like to add?
Perfectly honest, not really. I mean, I feel I think the takeaway is that waifus are nice. They can take away depending on how they're used.
Right.
I think the main takeaway is that and as you said just recently, don't let it be a substitute for real people.
Right.
that leads down a dark path that you don't want to see the end of.
Yeah, that is true facts. Master Yutaku.
It's no, not really, honestly.
Right.
At this point, everything's pretty much been said.
That's fair.
Honestly, this has been a wild conversation.
Yeah, I kind of branched off into things I didn't expect. So I don't know. I hope the comment section is just as lively. Do you guys agree with us? Do you think we're spot on? Do you think we're off base? Leave a comment telling us your waifus and or husbandos, or both. That's fine. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, etc., etc. You know the spiel. So thank you, Master Ditaku and Master Clockwork, for joining me this evening.
It's always a
Have good day,
pleasure.
everybody.
And we are the Tomodachi Bros Podcast, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to the Tomodachi Brothers Review Podcast, produced and recorded by the Hipster Snack, Ditaku, and Cog. Sound design and editing by executive producer Sean Taylor Brown with Cog Sound Engineering. Music written and performed by Sean Taylor Brown with Costas Vaz of Core Insight Studio on the drums. We hope you enjoyed this episode. See you next time.